Hell Let Loose has had its fair share of issues over the last few months. Bad patches, lack of quality control, negative reviews on Steam, and it was just an overall bad situation. In my comments as well as in other places where the community gathers, often the question pops up if Hell Let Loose is still worth buying. Well, in today's video, let's answer that question. So what do you actually get for your money? The game costs about 45 euros right now, at least in the beautiful Holland, and it's also on sale often, so you don't have to spend that much money on it. But still, for 45 euros you can get quite a lot of content. I mean, Hell Let Loose is already quite an original game. It's a large-scale strategic war game with 100 players, and there's a commander determining the strategy and squad leaders executing that with their squad, which there are not too many games of. And this makes sure it's already one of the most immersive experiences in FPSs that exist, because most FPSs don't put a focus on communication that much, at least not with strangers, but this game really puts you deep inside a war zone and creates a sense of brotherhood with the other strangers in your server, if they're communicating, that is. So only for this reason, it's such a unique gaming experience that it's worth to pay at least some money for. But apart from that, there's actually a lot of content in the game. There's loads of maps, like multiple in the French countryside, such as Saint-Mère-Église, Saint-Marie-de-Mont, Omaha Beach, Utah Beach, and there's also the Eastern Front, which means like Kursk in Russia, Stalingrad, and a whole lot of other maps, such as Foy during the Battle of the Bulge. And the thing is, it's not only the number of maps in the game, it's also the fact that the maps are huge and you can play them in many different ways. So every match that you play, also in combination with the team aspect of the game, make sure that every match feels completely new. So for example, what you can experience is you're flanking with your little squad through the forest, which takes quite a while because some people think it's a running simulator, but you can actually bring your own spawn point with you. So you're flanking through the forest, you're checking out with your binoculars in the distance what enemies are doing, and you can actually move in to place satchels. And if you manage to pull it off, that is amazing, and it really creates a sense of community within your squad to undertake these kinds of missions. And I actually make a lot of videos on my YouTube channel that emphasize this fact. So if you want to see what a Hell Let Loose round it's played like and what makes it so unique, check out this video that I made recently. So apart from a lot of maps, there's also a lot of vehicles in the game. There's different kinds of tanks, light tanks, medium tanks, heavy tanks, and all of the different factions have their own authentic vehicles from World War II. So because of this authenticity, which is also the case for the weapons, you don't have all that bullshit like red dot sights, scopes, and all that stuff that you don't need in World War II and didn't exist. So if you just want a breath of fresh air, it's already worth buying Hell Let Loose, to be honest. Because the communication aspect and also the focus on authenticity sets it apart from many games. I can't think of that many games recently that don't add some form of bullshit to it. I mean, there are similar games to Hell Let Loose on the market right now. One of them is Squad. Although Squad is quite a bit more milsimmy and way more complicated to learn than Hell Let Loose. But I don't know if you played Rising Storm Vietnam, for example. It also has a similar setup, but smaller maps and a lot more action. But I think if you're looking to get out of the typical like Battlefield or COD kind of games, I think Hell Let Loose is quite a nice stepping stone before you start with games like Squad. It's a lot more complicated, and Hell Let Loose is still possible to learn, but Hell Let Loose is still very difficult to get into. But it's basically the gateway drug to other milsim style games. And by the way, if you enjoy watching content about Hell Let Loose or similar games, consider subscribing to my channel, as I post videos about games such as Squad as well, even though I focus mostly on Hell Let Loose. So apart from the fact there's a lot of content in the game, in terms of maps, vehicles, weapons, everything, there's also some issues that you will notice as a new player. I mean, Hell Let Loose is not a perfect game. There's a bit of a lack of onboarding, actually. Many systems are not explained, and you need YouTube guides and other stuff to actually understand the game. The devs are actually working on a firing range at the moment, and there is some onboarding to give new players some options to actually learn the game, but keep in mind it's better to watch some guides as of now. Also, the game is quite janky. I mean, jumping over fences and that kind of stuff feels a bit off, and it can be annoying, but it's not game breaking. Also, there's a lack of communication between players, and that's also a topic that comes back in the community all the time, and people are complaining that no one communicates. I don't know, I usually don't have that problem that much. I play this game by myself as well as with friends, but I always have communicating people in my squad. I think a lot it has to do with actually taking the first steps yourself and just get people talking, you know. Many people are just sitting in their mom's basement, just staring at their screen, not having any plans to socialize that day. It is a big step for people, you know, if you're sitting behind your computer alone. And the last thing that could create some problems is actually the optimization of the game, because it's not very well optimized even for higher end systems, even though generally it does run fine on my computer. And yeah, well, many people play, there's many servers, but keep in mind you might have some stutters. So overall, I think the game and what you get for it is definitely worth the price. They should definitely fix the optimization and other issues, but right now I do think it's definitely worth buying for 45 euros or especially on sale. So what was the shitstorm about recently? Well, Hell Let Loose has existed for quite some time and it gathered quite a fan base actually around it. There's a strong community, people are playing competitive matches, there's quite a lot of YouTubers, there's loads of servers, even despite all the negativity that was going on. Because there's already an excited community and there were new devs that actually took the development process over, this created quite a bit of tension. Because the new devs took the game to a direction that the fan base didn't like. I mean, the reason that people buy Hell Let Loose is because it's different from more fast-paced casual shooters, but the devs implemented some things, like for example an increased movement speed that made the game a lot more casual, and the players started review bombing the game. And then on top of that, the devs actually released the worst trailer you've ever seen. It's absolutely horrendous. So many players actually became very worried for the future of the game, and the review bombing was more of a wake-up call for the devs, I'd say. So the devs actually responded to that with an AMA, an Ask Me Anything on Reddit, in which they went in depth about the future of Hell Let Loose, their vision for the game, and also went into a lot of questions that players had with their concerns for the future of the game. I actually made a video about this and it goes quite in depth, so if you're interested in learning more about it, please check out that video. But I think for a lot of players it actually took away quite a few concerns. If you look at the Steam reviews now, for example, you see that they're actually getting better and it's not mixed or negative recent Steam reviews. So this is a good sign. And I think if you're already playing Hell Let Loose and watching this video, I mean, we don't want the game to die, right? So I'm happy it's going this way. But there's one thing that's very important, and that is that the devs actually need to put their words into action. Because they promise a lot of things and they seem to understand the concerns of the community now, but we need proof. They already decreased the movement speed somewhat in a small recent patch, but the next few bigger patches are gonna show us if it's really gonna get better. But I don't know, it's my personal opinion, but I am actually quite optimistic about Hell Let Loose again. It seems that the devs are listening, and despite all the shitstorms going on, the game in its current form is still very good. The British faction definitely needs to be balanced, but overall the game is still very good and definitely worth buying, in my opinion. And it's perfectly playable. The devs went in the wrong direction and they got a wake-up call. But if you're thinking of buying Hell Let Loose and this game sounds like it's something for you, it's good enough quality to definitely put your money in. And I hope the devs will continue to keep it a very good game and improve on it. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. If you want to watch more content like this, definitely subscribe to my channel and see you in the next one.